They're like throwing shit around and up on the stage, and there was something about like a dead goat, I remember from my notes.
We'll get to the dead goat.
Okay.
And then I like chased this guy into the street, getting ready to fight him, and then my ex had to like pull me back. Anyway, because I was drunk and nobody fucks with my friends.
And I may or may not have put my hands on a guy's throat and kind of pushed him down a little bit, but
He did, and people in the audience were pissed. Like, what are you trying to say about our fucking American wood, you British fuck? Like, they were pissed. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I need a sip of water. This is fucking ridiculous. Like,
she'll punch you.
I'm ready to get canceled. Oh, fuck everything.
Viewer discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents. I'm Amanda.
Oh, I'm Lucy.
How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Doing pretty good. I
All right.
remembered my favorite hoodie.
Is that an armadillo?
Yes, I haven't been able to fit into it in like 6 months.
Oh my god, you can zip it now.
I can zip it, baby.
That's so exciting. I love that for you.
Thanks. It's a good day. And tomorrow I'm going to the Hawkeye State Cat Show. And
Oh my
June's going to
God.
come with. Corey and June are coming with Baby's First Cat Show.
This family outing is so wholesome. This is good exposure therapy to like really make sure she's not allergic to cats.
Yes.
Your
Ray,
house is...
Ray likes to lay right next to her too, but yes.
Oh.
All the dander.
How is Ghostface acclimating to being a big sister?
She's good, and the crying doesn't bother her at all. I think because she's going deaf.
Oh, okay. Well, good for her.
But she, she's an old gal. She's tired all the time. She just likes to lay pretty much wherever we're laying. So she
wherever
likes
you
it.
are or there's a heating pad is where you can find Ghosty.
Exactly. So yeah, they've accepted her. They're acclimating very well. They're good big siblings.
I love that so much. Well, okay, we can, now that we've taken care of June business, it's like that's the only thing I care about, but I guess we can actually get into the episode now.
Well, how are you? How's your foot?
Well, I mean, I'm good. I left the house today to co-work with Scott. Shout out, hi, Scott. And it's leaving the house with a knee scooter and only stairs is a time. And I almost fell getting back into the house and then called my husband and was like, you need to come help me, please.
Yeah.
But I'm getting the hang of it. It's like, it's so great to be able to leave the house, but it is fucking exhausting.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it again tomorrow because I'm going to see the movie Lisa Frankenstein.
Yeah. You've got to see that movie.
Yeah.
It's very you seeming.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to risk it. I'm going to risk it all.
Okay,
And
if you break your other foot, I don't even know.
But we've pre-purchased tickets to be in accessible seating. I will say that being on this knee scooter has really made it clear to me how inaccessible most places are. Like, it's a serious fucking problem.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. And I have the utmost respect for folks who have mobility devices. Because even just temporarily having one is like, it's a really big adjustment and it's really hard to just be in the world. And so, yeah, I need to up my disability advocacy game. And I know that it's super messed up for me to like only really realize that when it affects me. I acknowledge that, but this has been rough and very much altered my perspective of like accessibility just out in the world.
Yeah. Well, at least you're recognizing it now. And it is fucked. I mean, if I'm with a friend who has mobility issues, it's like, oh, do you want to go here? And they're like, I can't get into their building very easily. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
It's making me a lot more mindful. So yeah, just, something to ponder. The world is full of horrors.
Totes.
We're going to talk about some horrors today.
We sure are.
Because this week we have a very special fan pick from Luc Devantier, Devance?
Devantier. I like that better.
Luc Devantier.
Luc Devantier.
Luc, who has picked the topic of brutal bar brawls.
I've been excited for this one for a while.
Yeah. I definitely, so Luke's email cracked me up and like made me feel very seen because they were like, it's a lot harder to pick a case that it looks like. And we say it all the time. The fan pickers pick some of the wildest cases and they're amazing. But I found an amazing case, but I did have to misunderstand the assignment just slightly. It's brutal. It is a brawl. It does not take place in a specific bar, but it is alcohol fueled.
I think that
at
counts.
least in part. We'll get to it. I think it counts too. I mean, the misunderstanding of the assignment is worth it to be able to do this specific case. It is fucking nuts. And it brings me great joy and great horror, but we will get to it.
Perfect.
I do have a pairing today, but I'm curious if you are drinking anything this afternoon.
I am because I found this in my cabinet. Do you remember this brand On the Rocks?
Yeah.
They were a sponsor of ours for a hot minute a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I have a Mai Tai.
Pre-mixed cocktails.
Pre-mixed cocktail. So I have a glass with ice. It's a little bit melted now. It's probably for the best. So I'm going to have a little Mai Tai, obviously with the side of my enormous Stanley mug.
I love that. That is fucking amazing. I'm going to need a taste review after you start sipping.
Okay.
Like I said, I do have a pairing today, but before we dive into that, did you know that there is a wine fight event in Spain?
Fighting with wine?
So this is incredible. It's also shocking. So I was searching for a pairing and I was like, fight wine brawl, like all this stuff, trying to find like fun wines that might play off of the name of brutal bar brawls, like I always do. That's always where I start. And I found this, and it's not a specific wine, but like I want to go to this so bad. So there is a festival called the San Vino Wine Fight Festival. And this year it runs from the 26th to the 30th of June. And allow me to give you the details of this
4-day fight.
Yes, it sounds absolutely batshit and amazing. So San Vino, a.k.a. La Batalla de Vino de Haro, a.k.a. the Wine Fight of Spain, takes place usually on or around the 29th of June every year in the town of Haro La Rioja. And La Rioja is like a great region for wine. The fight goes down amongst some of the world's best red wines, and among the vines of this like Rioja region. Like they will fight on the vineyards, where for centuries,
physical fighting.
We'll get to it.
Oh my God.
Where for centuries now, locals and visitors alike have celebrated this tradition by throwing wine on each other. They don't hit each other. They throw wine on each other. And in the modern era, they use squirt guns, like super soakers.
Oh my God.
It's absolutely fucking incredible. It looks so fun. So there's this travel company. It's called Stoke Travel. It is a travel company that helps like book your reservations. This is not a sponsor. I just found this. And so if you are interested in participating, you can go to stoketravel.com and check out the San Vino Wine Fight Festival. And they can you could do these all-inclusive packages that you can get into the wine fight. You can get accommodation. They have like €15 a day open beer, wine, and sangria bar. Hot breakfast, bottomless mimosas every morning.
Oh my God. That probably helps.
Welcome. Yeah. There's a welcome local cheese and wine tasting on opening day.
Oh my God.
Parties throughout the event, all of these local winemakers, and you get to visit local vineyards in the La Rioja countryside. And then it's like a festival. Like you're camping. Like you have power stations and stuff available 24 hours a day. There's a DJ. There's music all day. The opening party is an all-day DJ party. Like, why did I not do this for my fucking bachelorette?
Yeah, no shit.
Seriously.
Next husband.
Yeah, well, or vow renewal.
Yeah.
I'll do that. But it really does sound amazing. And so I just wanted to read a little bit about like how this started. This originated in a centuries-old land dispute between Haro and the neighboring Miranda de Ebro like regions. Mm-hmm. And over the years, this descended into the wine fight, where they, I guess, were throwing wine at each other. Like the history of the wine fight is that it was like like you said, a land dispute. And it like started around the 13th century, and it was these two like families, I guess, were fighting over property lines.
Okay.
And so they would like duke it out, and then I guess it just became like a tradition.
So it probably was at some point like physical fighting.
It probably was.
And then it just got watered down, so to speak.
Yeah, I would imagine it started as like an actual legitimate fight between neighboring landowners, and then one won, I don't know who, and it was kind of laid to rest, but I think it just probably became like local legend, and now it's just like honored as this tradition that happens every year in this area.
It reminds me of who are those two families in like Appalachia who like the McCalls?
I don't know. I'm thinking of the guy who was pissed about his property line being like fucked with, and so he made like a wall out of cow poop on his farm. Yes. I think I covered that in GAC.
Yes. I'm thinking of the two families. Some people are screaming at me right now, but
I'm sure. Don't at us.
Their feud was like such the stuff of local legends that now the remaining families have like an annual barbecue like together.
Oh, that's cute. I also wanted to note that the wine being used in people's like buckets, water balloons, and squirt guns, it's not like waste. It's not wasteful, I guess I should say, because what they use is wine waste. Like they only use wine that did not pass approval to be bottled. So it's not wine that like would have been sold and consumed anyway. And then basically all that happens is everything after it's done, everything is rinsed back down the mountain, like into the vineyards, and the actual use of this like wine waste runoff byproduct helps fertilize the vineyards that the new, yield is then growing in. So it's kind of a circle of life situation, and you don't have to like feel bad about it.
Well, that's good.
You're helping.
Also, the families were the Hatfields and the McCoys.
There it is.
I Googled it because that was going to really bother me.
I totally get it. I just uploaded a couple wine fight photos so you could get a feel of what the event kind of looks like if you want to check it out.
I am looking right now.
But what I'm actually drinking today, I felt like this episode, for me personally, constituted beer. Like when I think of a bar brawl, I just think of like insufferable men drinking beer all day and then fighting over something fucking stupid like football, which is basically what my case is, but replace football with something else.
Okay.
Extremely silly. So I also had this in my fridge because, like I said earlier, leaving my house to get booze is a fucking hazard with my Klaubfuß. So I am drinking the Minnesota Gold Lager from 3rd Street Brewing.
Love.
I'm going to give you a little info about this beer, and something that makes Minnesota beer so good is like actually our water, and especially in Minneapolis, like we actually have really, really, really good water for brewing. So we, as Minnesotans and as beer makers over at 3rd Street Brewhouse, they like to see their water put to good use. That's why our brewers made Minnesota Gold, to see real Minnesota water brewed into a classic premium quality lager. This is just like a nice light 4.9% ABV lager. It only has an IBU of 15. And IBU stands for like International Bitterness Unit. So this isn't going to be a super hot bomb, like really bitter. It's a pretty light and I'd say like more malty, kind of grainy beer.
Okay.
It's nice and golden in color. It uses sterling hops, and yeah, it just looks really delicious. This is available year round too. It's one of the Third Street Brewing staples. So it's obviously like an awesome summer beer, but beer knows no season. You can fucking drink it whenever the fuck you want. So I'm gonna nice crack with this Minnesota Gold Lager. Are you ready? Do you want to crack with me since you have a twist off?
Yes, I do.
All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, mine hardly made any sound.
That's okay. Nice crack.
Nice cracks.
Oh,
yeah.
ooh, that smells nice.
Look at that. Perfectly sized for our Plan Ahead Salt Your Dead rocks glass.
Oh my God, cute. This tastes like cereal. I love it.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers to you. All right, welcome back. Lucy, do you have some background and psych for us this week on brutal bar brawls?
I sure do. I even have a little bit of psych. So, in February of 2023, the Washington Post reported that archaeologists from the University of Pennsylvania and the University of Pisa had recently excavated a site in Iraq dating to around 2700 BCE in the ancient Sumerian city-state of Lagash.
Ooh.
They hypothesized that they had found the oldest tavern ever discovered. Oh, that's a dive bar.
Okay.
The site contained pieces of a public eatery consisting of a 7-room structure featuring an open courtyard with benches. Cute. Reminds me of Pump. A tree that they moved in with a crane. Just kidding. A primitive refrigerator. So this device, it had like 2 bottomless clay jars that used evaporation to help cool perishable items inside. Isn't that cool?
I think that's amazing. It's like, this is kind of your perfect bar.
Yeah. And like the oldest fridge.
Yeah, I love that.
And a 10-foot wide mud brick oven probably had
For pizza.
Excellent pizzas. Right.
Heggy's fucking pizzas.
Yeah,
Frozen pizzas.
Totally. I can smell that. Yum.
Yep.
In another room, the team found a bunch of conical bowls that
I thought you were going to say condoms.
Conical condoms. Ish. That reminds me of hemipenes. I can't go there. I can't go back. That held ready-to-eat food and jars believed to have contained beer. So the reason why they think that is because some of the jars had clay stoppers with seals featuring government markings indicating that some might have contained alcoholic beverages because the ancient Sumerians kept track of booze for tax and quality purposes.
Got it.
So that is the oldest bar that they have evidence of.
That's cool.
In the United States, the origins and customs of bars can be traced back to the colonial era. At the time, the most common term for a bar was a tavern.
Yep.
In 1797, people started using the term bar room, which was later shortened to bar.
Got it.
But it doesn't stop there.
Ooh, it
Etymology
never
nerds.
does.
The word saloon caught on in the 1840s and remained a crowd favorite term until Prohibition in 1920, probably because saloons were outlawed and they needed to come up with a different word for them. And then,
but a bar and a saloon are the same thing. It was just a different name for it.
Yes.
Okay.
So Prohibition, we got the term speakeasy. In July of 1871, in a New York Herald article, the term decorated dives was used in reference to bars where someone could get a cheap drink. Not clear to me what the decorated dives, like what that was in reference to, besides a bar you could get a cheap drink. But that phrase was later shortened to dive bars.
Oh, cute.
I kind of thought dive bars were, well, like the first dive bar that I ever thought of as a dive bar was down a set of stairs. So that's where I thought the diving came in.
Sure. I
Or
always just
that they were
associate
just, like,
them with just being shitty, like kind of
shitty and dirty.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, yeah. But also, I guess originally it correlated to the actual price of the drinks, which then is extrapolated with like the, the shittiness of the
Cheap. Yeah.
environment. So now in the 21st century, many often use the terms tavern, lounge, and saloon, with the most common term being bar.
Mm-hmm.
But just because all of these terms are used interchangeably doesn't mean they mean exactly the same thing. So like some places such as Connecticut,
I've been there.
you have
My actual hometown.
So Connecticut has a legal distinction between a bar and a tavern. A bar is a place where they can serve whatever you want, including hard liquor. And a bar or a bar room is a place where alcoholic drinks are served over a counter. In taverns, they may only serve beer, wine, cider, and then also food. And it's probably also a place where like a server goes and gets your beer and then brings it to your table. And not like you order it from a bar. This distinction makes getting a bar license more desirable, as they are generally projected to profit more than taverns. So there are some places like that where there's that legal distinction. But in terms of like definitions, they're pretty much all the same thing. According to, and this is a real thing, I really liked this page, the Arizona State University Center for Problem-Oriented Policing.
Okay.
So it was very...
Pop.
Yeah. ACU's
nice
pop page. Nice pop. The proliferation of bars in many communities has led to increases in assaults in and around bars. So for their purposes of this page, of this, well, the website that I was looking at,
right.
The term bar refers to a licensed liquor establishment that sells alcohol primarily for consumption on the premises. So this includes nightclubs, pubs, taverns, lounges, social clubs, all that stuff. It's not just...
And all that jazz.
So according to ASU Pop, there are various factors contributing to violence and aggression in bars, including, but not limited to, obviously, alcohol.
Yep.
A culture of drinking, the type of establishment, the concentration of bars in a certain area, what time the bars close, aggressive bouncers, discounted or just cheap drinks, staff continuing to serve drunk patrons, lighting.
Oh, like the actual overhead and dark lighting of a bar.
Yep. So my next
we do think we can get away with more in a shroud of like dim light.
This didn't really go into that, but I think psychologically, yes. And there are also like a higher risk of misinterpreting social cues in a dark place.
Thinking someone's like giving you an eye or gesturing at you, you might not even. Oh, okay, I didn't even think about that.
And then alternatively, like you kind of said, people thinking they can get away with more because it's dark.
One of the last bar fights I got into was actually when
bar fights have you been in?
I haven't been in any like actual fisticuffs thrown bar fights, but I have come really close to throwing down in bars multiple times. Usually when our friend Andrea Graham is with us. It happened with her in Vegas once, and it happened with her. Yeah, not even over my bachelorette. We were so good. We were not throwing fisticuffs, but like the first time we went to Vegas together, someone on the street in Old Vegas like called her stupid or said for me to like get my stupid friend, and I like chased this guy into the street getting ready to fight him, and then my ex had to like pull me back. Anyway, because I was drunk and nobody fucks with my friends. But Andrea was also with me when I almost got into a bar fight when we were in Nashville for CrimeCon.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you were there. You might have been there. But Andrea and I like went out to meet her family or something at a bar. And I was just walking in. It was hot, so I had like a tank top or some sort of sleeveless shirt on. And some like middle-aged fuck sitting at the bar did that thing that as a tattooed person, especially a tattooed woman, I hate so much, where someone will literally not even speak to you. He didn't say a word to me. He was drunk. I had already been drinking. We were drunk when we got there. And he grabbed my arm and started like touching my tattoos, like rubbing my arm and like quote unquote asking me about my tattoos. And I like
with your
ripped my arm away and then grabbed the neck of his shirt and like pulled him in, like ready to fucking clock him in the face. And Andrea like pulled him, and some other guys popped up and like pushed this guy away because I was just screaming like, he fucking grabbed me. Like, just as I'm walking through, I was so pissed. Like, I do not fuck with that shit. I almost clocked some guy at a show once because I thought he was grabbing my purse. It was like this older man, but he was actually just like grabbing a bench that was next to me for his wife. And I felt so bad. I was like, I'm sorry. I saw you like lean down and I thought you were grabbing my bag. But I'm really quick to grab the collar of somebody's jacket and just be like, what the fuck are you doing?
You've got a short fuse. I don't think I've seen this side of you.
Don't fucking touch me. Don't take my shit.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Don't even look like you're taking my shit.
Don't even appear slightly like you might be taking my shit. He ended up laughing at me, though. He was like 3 times my size, like this old white man there with his wife. And he was just like, you're a little Spitfire. And I was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm a little drunk and I thought you were stealing my shit and I was ready to fucking take you out. He was like, yeah, you can hold your own, but why don't you calm down? And I was like, that's fair. I don't usually like when men tell me to calm down, but this was like, this one's allowed. I'll let you have this one. And then we were friendly all night.
There was one time I was definitely willing to put myself and others in danger at a bar. It was at a bar when we were in China. And it was a German guy who was at the bar. And in China, at the bars, they give you like a fruit plate a lot of places. Like just cut up watermelon and grapes and stuff.
Oh, I want that.
That was pretty great. So I was like eating the fruit thing at the bar.
Enjoying your fruit plate.
And this German guy was sitting kind of next to us, and he made some comment. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it basically alluded to him wanting to put his cigarette out on my parts.
Fuck no.
Because I think someone put their
not
cigarette
on my body
out,
and not on my fruit, motherfucker.
Someone put their cigarette out on the fruit. That's what it was. He put his cigarette out on my fruit tray, and then he said, I'd rather put it out somewhere else or something like that.
Ew.
And
beat
Corey,
the shit out of that guy.
And Corey stood up and he's like, what the fuck did you just say? And I pushed Corey back down in his chair and I got between them. And I put my finger on this guy's like clavicle and I was like poking him really hard, like back into his bar stool.
You get out of here, you big bully.
I was like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? You do not talk to women like that.
Good for you.
And Corey was like, I'm backing off because I just like shoved Corey down, shoved this guy down. Nothing happened. He ended up leaving, but like,
well, yeah.
It was just a really disgusting thing to say.
Yeah, that's fucked up. But you know what?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Another time I was in Ames, Iowa, at Iowa State, and I was with my friend at some mac and cheese after hours, like mac and cheese place.
Fucking yum.
Really, really good. And or maybe it was a pizza place and they had mac and cheese pizza. That's what it was. Delicious
all of
either
that
way.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And we were sitting in a booth and I overheard some guys in the booth behind me joking about raping a girl.
What?
And I went around to the booth behind me and I was like, oh, what are you guys chatting about? Because I heard what you were talking about. And they started to kind of like be like, oh, whatever. Mind your own business. Can't take a joke. Whatever thing. Yeah. And I may or may not have put my hands on guy's throat and kind of pushed him down a little bit. But
It's like those two creepy old guys that were behind us at the Waffle House on our road trip with the merch.
my God, I hated
I don't even
that.
remember what they were talking about specifically, but they just kept trying to talk to us. And it's like the crack of dawn. It's like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And we are not having it. We've been driving for days. It's
They
like,
kept
can you just
talking about
fucking leave me alone.
Your hair and your tattoos
Yup.
and your nose piercing.
Always.
And you're just like, can you?
Always. I get
At
that
the
I'm
time,
a spectacle.
It was 2022, but
Yeah.
grow up.
So
Old
grow
man.
up.
Anyway, violence is never the answer, but some men need to learn how to
Some
behave.
faces deserve to be punched. There, I said it.
Okay, anyway, back to violence at bars.
Right.
Okay, so the lighting. We talked about the
Mhm.
lighting. Here's the reasoning according to the Pop article. Recognizing that attractiveness, and not physical attractiveness, but like attractiveness of the establishment,
Mm-hmm.
is highly subjective. If making a place obviously unattractive, poorly maintained, and dimly lit signals to patrons that the owners and managers have similarly low standards for behavior
That
and that
makes
they will
so much
likely
sense.
tolerate aggression and violence.
That makes so much sense. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So bars themselves are rife with potential weapons as well. Quote, patrons can use bottles, glasses, pool cues, heavy ashtrays, the big, thick glass ones, and bar furniture as weapons. The more available and dangerous these items are, the more likely they will cause serious injury during fights and assaults.
Got it.
There's also a correlation between establishments with quote-unquote good music as defined by the patrons. So probably like whatever type of, like if it's a country bar, they want their
Sure.
country music, whatever. So there's a correlation between good music and hostility. So if a bar plays good, music that its patrons enjoy, there is it's a lot less likely that there will be aggression.
That makes sense. Unless
Because
it's like mosh pit type shit, but you're not really moshing in like a bar size venue. But I
No.
guess in some punk venues you are, but whatever.
People just stay entertained, they stay content and pleased, and it's less likely that people will get into fights. Also kind of brought to mind, like, the classic scene where the stranger comes into the bar and puts a quarter in the jukebox and plays something ridiculous, and everybody else like gets pissed at him right away.
Goes nuts. Like when I put on Earth Intruders at a bar with a bunch of straight guys and it's just foghorns for 20 minutes after Bjork screams for a while. What? I wonder how many
What?
bar fights I've started by putting that on and just leaving. Later.
Put in a $10 bill.
Play it on repeat.
Just
We've
put
definitely
repeat.
done that. That's like me and my sister and our friend Doug's like favorite thing to do when we're in Boston. It's find a bar with a touch tunes and put on Earth Intruders over and over again.
You can pay a certain amount to just override the queue.
Of course I know, honey. I have done it. I have the Touch Tunes app. I sometimes will do it to bars like in
Across
other
the
states.
street.
In other states.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a lot of Touch Tunes credits, you guys.
Oh my God, no wonder you
If you're
started
wondering-
so many bar fights.
If you're wondering why I struggle so much with my finances, it's because of my Touch Tunes addiction.
I've
I need
noticed
help.
that about you. Yes,
Yeah.
you are always the first one to the touch tunes.
Always. The second I walk into a bar, if I see one, and I'm always looking for one, I will gay gasp. Be like, a Touch Tunes. And it's like, I'm fucking gone. If you don't know where I am, bitch is at the Touch Tunes.
Possibly the one in another state.
Yeah, she gone.
Quick, locate all the touch tunes in the area.
I've got a map with like red string.
Where's the closest touch tunes?
I need a Touch Tunes.
You're stressed out. You've had a bad day. Just gotta find a touch tunes.
I just gotta find a Touch Tunes and everything will be okay.
Got the shakes from a touch tunes.
I am not well, you guys.
No.
Not even a little bit.
No, not even. Okay, good music. Also, a competitive atmosphere contributes to like macho behaviors. So places with pool tables, dart boards, or like a bar that has contests, especially ones that involve competitive drinking,
Sure.
tend to have more violent incidents. There is a bar in Des Moines, and I know this is not unique to Des Moines, but
Okay.
they have dildo races.
Do I want to know?
They're not actually dildos, they're vibrators, because the point is for them to vibrate down a lane, and the first one to vibrate across the finish line wins.
Sure. Okay.
I don't know that would cause many fights because it's too stupid, but as far as bar competitions go, that's the first thing that came to mind, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think that bar closed. Okay, moving on. According to the study, Behavioral Indicators of Motives for Barroom Aggression, implications for preventing bar violence, there are 4 types of motives for aggressive acts. So the first one is gaining compliance, like stay in your lane, buddy.
Yeah.
Second is expressing grievances / restoring justice.
Okay.
Vengeance, revenge.
Got it.
Third one is obtaining a favorable social identity. So, for example, asserting or defending your identity. And the last one is pursuing fun and excitement. According to this research, compliance-motivated aggression typically involves unwanted social interactions. So, compliance-motivated would be you. The guy grabbed your arm.
Yep.
And you grabbed him. Don't fucking touch me. Stay in your lane. Follow the rules. That could also be third-party interventions. So the guys around him standing up and grabbing him away from you. Okay. Or staff rule enforcement if a bouncer came and pulled him away or whatever.
Sure.
Perceived wrongdoings typically evoke grievance motives. So the revenge thing.
Yep.
Social identity motives, so like pride, for example, are usually seen among male patrons and staff.
Okay.
Yeah. Lastly, aggression motivated by fun or excitement is usually low stakes, like banter, like, 2 friends fucking around. Right. They just start shoving each other. Most bar brawls start on the dance floor.
Oh, here we go.
According to the study referenced
Don't dance with my woman.
Yeah. Did you touch my ass?
Yes.
The study referenced from the Drug and Alcohol Review Journal, the findings suggest that roughly 20% of the most harmful incidents in bars take place on the dance floor itself. Also, that's like there's just the most empty space.
Empty space, but also it's like empty space, but also close quarters, because if the dance floor is like really bumping, then there's a lot of room to push and shove, but like you're all on top of each other, and then some things can be misconstrued. You could accidentally catch an elbow, a step on the foot while dancing. Someone could touch a butt, touch a boob, cop a feel, whether intentionally or on by accident, and then things just spiral.
Yes. So
oh, fuck.
20%. Won't keep me off the dance floor. I know.
It would never keep me off the dance floor. I'd do it with my scooter, my knee scooter.
So are you on crutches or a knee scooter or both?
Literally both.
But not both at once.
Not both at once. I usually keep my crutches at the top of my stairs and then just use my scooter on the main floor, and I can get in and out of my house. With my scooter, it's a struggle, but I can do it. And then I crawl up the stairs to go to bed, and I have my crutches to get to my bed or get to the bathroom upstairs.
Can you drive?
Yeah, it's my left foot. So that my left foot isn't a boot when I go out. My right foot, and I don't drive stick, is fine.
Wow. You're brave.
I'm demented. If we're being honest.
I'm demented.
Yep.
Okay, so 20% on the dance floor. Another 13% of other incidents takes place near the dance floor. So the dance floor is your red zone.
Evacuate the dance floor. I'm infected by the sound.
The second most common location for bad behavior was at or near the bar itself. Which, how many other places are there in a bar? I don't know.
Right.
If you get in a bar fight, you can face some serious charges.
Oh, yeah.
This varies
Assault
from state.
is not just the seasoning, babes.
No.
Mm-mm.
So these charges vary from state to state, but overall you could face disorderly intoxication, disorderly conduct, aggravated battery, and in extreme cases, manslaughter. This could mean jail time or a hefty fine. Some sites reported up to $25,000.
They're all fucked up when people get like really, really, truly harmed in fights like this. But the ones that always like unsettle me are where like people fight, they go too far, it puts someone in the hospital, and then like days later they die.
Yeah, or like they
Like
fall
you
and hit
didn't.
their head,
Yeah, like you
and
didn't.
all you did was like push them off a bar stool or something.
Which like that's bad. Don't fucking do that. But like
No.
our bodies are more fragile than we ever think, and especially than we think when we're drunk. Like the only reason I'm fucking puffing up my chest at dudes at a bar is because I'm drunk and I just assume I'm invincible. I mean, this was also much more like in my late 20s, early 30s, which isn't that long ago, but like I have gotten more tame since then. COVID really changed me, let me just tell you. I don't want to touch anyone, even to like fight with them.
Yeah,
But
even to fight with them.
We're
I gotta
fragile
sanitize
beings.
my knuckles.
Seriously. Ugh. I don't want to get COVID from you.
I don't even know that I've seen that many bar fights. It's interesting in a concept, and of course I would like think I'd want to watch one, but the few times that I've seen like men be violent with each other, it's scary and it's off-putting, it's disturbing, and I don't like it.
I've seen them on the street. I've never seen a fight like in a bar. But if I go out to like rip a cig with the homies, that's where like the real action is, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I feel like it's in the parking lot or
There's
outside.
nothing like a drunk late night camel crush and just like two yahoos fucking railing on each other by a car. That is a tale as old as time.
Yep. Okay, so I want to close this out by this little part that I just found it really humorous. Okay.
Amazing. I
so
love this.
You might recall I have definitely cited this website before. According to tvtropes.com.
God, you love that site.
I know, because
You've
it's
definitely used this before.
I think it's it's written in a really funny way.
It's amazing.
I think it's crowdsourced, so it just cracks me up. So, according to TV Tropes, a bar brawl is a fight scene in which the main focus is not one's ability to fight, but more about the destruction of surroundings.
Got it.
During these scenes, the audience will usually witness the destruction of furniture and glass, bottles being turned into weapons, cracking a glass bottle over someone's head and it shatters into 1,000 pieces, when in reality, it might not break at all. That would really hurt. As well as teeth and blood flying everywhere. There, as TV Tropes mentions, there will be someone swinging from a chandelier-like object, even though there wasn't one there to begin with. Eventually, everyone in the bar will get involved, regardless of their initial involvement. In real life, the fights are a little less dramatic, but can still cause similar damage. I've never seen someone swinging from a real chandelier, and it does seem like on TV and in movies there are light fixtures that will support an adult person often.
Yeah. I mean, we're not living in the Phantom of the fucking Opera, y'all. This isn't the way.
Not on this plane, anyway.
No.
A girl can dream. A phantom can dream. Okay.
I love the Phantom of the Opera so much.
So dumb. I love it. Okay.
How dare you?
The storyline is stupid, but it's not as bad as Cats, obviously.
Are we about to fight?
No. You're
All
right.
right.
It's not
Yeah,
stupid.
I am right. I am right. He's basically frogging in that fucking theater.
He sure is.
Like, it's one of the oldest frogging stories of our time.
And imagine
should love
discovering that with just like half a mask. No.
The music is stellar.
The music is excellent.
Does the storyline hold a lot of water? No, I can admit that. That's
all I was saying.
The writing of the in-between music pieces, the dialogue is
the plot line.
It's mid at best.
It's at best.
But some of the best music.
The music is incredible.
It's incredible. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, well
agree
done.
on that.
Yeah.
Don't punch me.
I never would. You're too cute. Don't touch my fucking arm.
Well, I can't promise that.
I know you can't. It's fine. You can touch my arm.
I've touched your breasts without asking.
You truly have. We've been many times nude together.
Yeah.
We don't have those same boundaries. You're not just a random man at a bar. So go ahead.
The consent is implied between you and me.
You can grab me by the pussy. Just nobody else except my husband can. It's a short list of people who can do that.
It's in our partnership agreement. But wait.
It fucking is now.
Should we amend?
We probably should amend.
Okay.
Let's get our lawyer on the phone.
I'll call Julian. All right.
Thank you. All right.
That is my segment.
I love it. Well done, mama.
Thanks.
All right. Are you ready for my case?
I am.
Now, Lucy, you know my case, and the listeners at home also know my case. But before we assume that this was a huge mistake, which it definitely was not, Lucy did briefly cover this in your background in psych segment for our live show, Something Was Off Broadway, which aired, I don't know, by the time this comes out, like a month or two ago?
Yeah.
But this whole thing, first of all, I was so intrigued by it at that show that like I had to fucking know more. But then as I went deeper, there is so much more around this event than what you were able to cover in that live show. I mean, you gave it like 4 paragraphs.
I know what you're
that's
talking
all the time
about.
That's all the time that you had. But I've got like 7 pages, babe.
It's so fucking insane. I'm so glad we're revisiting this.
It's so insane. I mean, like, all the people dying is not funny, but like the circumstances around it are so uniquely hilarious.
Yes.
That I had to go back to it. So like I mentioned at the top, I sort of misunderstood the assignment on purpose to cover this, but am confident that while this didn't start in a bar, alcohol, bars, businesses, the theater, very much included in this disaster. This was a very alcohol-fueled disaster. And yes, that is the only connection I'll be making today. Thank you very much.
And I will not be taking any questions.
Correct. William Shakespeare was
Jesus.
born on April 26th, 1564 in Stratford-on-Avon, Warwickshire, England. And do you know what that means?
Yes.
It is time for some geography.
We haven't done geography in
so long.
Far too long.
It's back, baby, and harder than ever.
Oh, good.
So Stratford-on-Avon is south of Wootton Warren. Wooten and Warren.
Are you okay?
No.
Wooten Warren.
But I am looking at property in Wooten Warren. East of Cock Bevington.
Sick.
West of Biggleswade. Which you only can say shimmering your boobies, I think.
Totally.
And north of Lower Swell, which I find very relatable right now with my fucking foot. But to each their own Lower Swell. He died in the same town at the age of 52, leaving a legacy of 38 plays, 154 sonnets, 2 long narrative poems, and several other poems that some people cared about. Fun fact, little Willie filled his lady fair with his festering seed at the tender age of 18.
Jesus.
She, however, was 26 and named Anne Hathaway.
Stop.
That's his wife's actual name.
Oh my God. And she was 8 years older than him?
Yes.
Shakespeare's
Anne
wife.
Hathaway.
Oh,
and I did put a photo of Anne
that.
Hathaway on the drive, but it's anyone's guess at home which Anne Hathaway I uploaded. You know which one.
Yeah.
In the eyes of the law, he was not of marrying age, and they had to get special permission. And, since she was out of wedlock preggers, the whole thing was a big scandal, but they did end up getting married. Many years after Shakespeare's death, on the eve of May 10th, 1849, the Astor Place Opera House was putting on a production of child husband William's darkest work, Macbeth.
Macbeth.
What beast 'twas it then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man, and to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man. Nor time nor place did then adhere, and yet you would make both. They have made themselves, and that their fitness now does unmake you. I have given suck, and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would,
God.
while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brains out had I so sworn as you have done to this.
Wow.
So spoketh Lady Macbeth.
I
am amazing. I know. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
You are amazing. I also cannot understand Shakespeare without the spark notes.
I need the translations.
Like the
She's
notes
mad.
right next to it.
She's like, I'd kill this baby right here.
I can tell she's mad, especially from your dramatic reading. But as far as understanding the text itself, I never fucking know.
No.
I never get it.
Which is actually it's surprising to me, and we'll kind of get to it, given how this is written and how highbrow it seems to us now, how accessible his works were.
Yeah.
He was like the everyman's entertainer.
Well, the themes for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
10
But,
things I hate about you.
Yeah, people understood this language and really fucking connected to it, and we'll get to it. So by the end,
dramatic for sure.
But yeah, it's very dramatic. By the end of the night of this beloved show, somewhere in the ballpark of 21 to 32 people were dead.
It's a big ballpark.
I know. I love that they aren't sure within 10 dead people just how many, but it's probably due to the incredibly shoddy record keeping in 1800 New York City, but that's a topic for another episode entirely.
I mean, multiple people could have just been buried in the mud of the streets.
Mud, their rubble, which we'll get to it, God only knows. So 120 others were seriously injured, and this event would have some serious ramifications for law enforcement going forward. As sparrows, eagles, or the hare, the lion, if I say soothe, I must report they were, as cannons overcharged with double cracks, so they doubly redoubled strokes upon the foe, except they meant to bathe in reeking wounds, or memorize another Golgotha. I'm fine. I cannot tell, but I am faint. My gashes cry for help.
Oh.
And while we're holding for applause. Thank you so much.
My gashes cry for help too.
My gash is always crying for help. So what role, might you ask, did the bard's darkest work play in the worst night of rioting of that century and the largest death toll for civilians in the United States since the Revolutionary War at that time?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Was it a feud between an American and British actor at competing playhouses? Was there a really good Black Friday sale? Or was it good old-fashioned American racism and capitalism? The wealthy in the country pitting the poor and disenfranchised against immigrants?
Why not all of the above?
'Twas all of that.
Was it a good Black Friday sale?
Except the Black Friday sale. Shit might have happened on a Friday. I don't know. But so, to back up and get context for the time. The Great Famine, which is also kind of unfortunately cutely called the potato famine, but there was nothing cute about this, began in 1845, and it was triggered by an insanely nasty blight that decimated the single crop dependent nation of Ireland and would go on to be responsible for upwards of 1 million deaths. I mean, this was devastating.
So, are you going to say what the crops failed, right?
Yes.
And
so
that meant
essentially,
people weren't eating.
Correct. And basically, like in Ireland at the time, at least, it was a like monoculture of agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So they were heavily reliant on the potato, and that was essentially their only crop. And then something came through that like fucked with this crop, and that's like decimated the only food source that they had. And like these monocultures are a pretty dangerous thing in nature, and like as are the practices of absentee landlords in this case, specifically with like land being seized from the Irish and given to the Scottish, the Welsh, the English people who didn't actually live in Ireland. And so when the food shortage started and the crops are going, the crops that were still decent were being shipped out of the country to the Scottish, Welsh, and English, and the people that were growing the crops, the Irish, didn't have access to their own food source that was like shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking.
Ugh.
So the famine was really fucking bad. It was bad. So this decimating famine led to an influx of immigration to the States, and New York City was, as decreed by Our Lady Liberty, the chief destination for the hungry, the poor, the huddled masses. Mm-hmm. However, when they got there, the locals got super pissed and burned the welcome mats because it was like, we live here.
Okay.
And this, a lot of people, white people love to talk about like racism against the Irish.
That's
a whole fucking can of worms. And I know there was indentured servitude, which is not the fucking same as chattel slavery. But like this was more, I would say, like a xenophobia, anti-immigration thing that then culminated in the Irish being deemed like a lesser race, a lesser class of people. And so it was very serious. Mm-hmm. And like, I hear ya. But just, it's not exactly the same thing. Yeah, correct. So let's just keep that in mind. So the situation was a serious powder keg of resentment. The Irish blamed the English for shitty land practices that led to the famine. And folks in the States hated immigrants, and all these boundary disputes and economic tensions between Britain and the United States led to a streak of Anglophobic sentiment in America. And some of it we still cling tightly to today, just the phobic, the general phobic part of all of that. Mm-hmm. Both of the poor groups did find common ground. So like the angry Americans and the disenfranchised and then, essentially kicked out Irish did find some common ground against the wealthy. And the term Brit had become a sort of shorthand for aristocrats. But the wealthy absolutely controlled the police as well. So essentially, if you've seen Gangs of New York, that's like what's happening around the time that this brawl went down. It's like, it's that.
It also reminded me
these are all the factors that kind of started that whole Gangs of New York type thing.
It also reminded me of, and I don't know that this is the exact same time period. Mm-hmm. What's it called? The HBO show. Oh, God. The Gilded Age?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't watched that.
Okay, never mind. But yes.
I'm blowing this for you. I'm sorry. I'm usually so good about TV shows.
Gangs of New York is a truly scary movie, I think.
It's terrifying. And it that was going down. That was some real shit.
Dirty, ratty clothes and top hats and
Cameron Diaz. It's shocking.
The petticoat. Yeah. Yeah. Everything's just dirty. There's just like fires going every couple blocks, it's just.
It was a filthy time.
Yeah.
So that's like the background to set the stage, pun intended, for this whole scenario. There's an influx of immigrants. There's general anti-Anglo sentiment. There's a huge death toll because of this brawl over maybe the stupidest possible flashpoint in American history, which was who was the best Shakespearean actor? The American Edwin Forrest or the British-born William Macready? This is what 30 people died over. Yeah. I can't. So the people of the Victorian era had very little by way of choices for streaming services or games on their phones.
That's
so
sad.
This was it. To fill the intense soul-crushing boredom and distract from how generally stinky everything, everywhere, and everyone was. They got seriously invested in the careers of theater actors, literally on the same level now as how we, and I don't mean you and me, I mean like the royal we, care about like sports ball and fucking Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Like this was in the press. This was everywhere. Everyone was talking about this all over the country. Yep.
All over
and
the
they
country?
were talking all like everywhere. They were talking about this in Britain. Like,
oh my God.
This was a big thing. Theaters were seen as places for people to not just watch, but to also participate, which meant shouting at the actors, shouting about like class and politics at one another in the theater, just like fighting. And these were just regular practices, and theater riots were not at all uncommon. These people are also all wasted most of the time because they pregame.
They're like throwing shit around and up on the stage, and there was something about like a dead goat, I remember from my notes.
We'll get to the dead goat.
Okay.
And just like in general, as a former theater kid, this sounds like a goddamn nightmare. Like I can't wrap my head around why a theater goer would do this, because like the people up on stage are talking, so I get to talk too. Like, what the fuck? Obviously there are... Sorry,
like
go ahead.
Trying to remember your lines for
That's
fucking
what I mean.
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare?
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously there are shows like our own live shows where it can work and it can be really fun and is like often encouraged by us. But we don't rehearse every detail, every aspect, every sonnet, every musical number for months.
We got our notes in front of us on our fucking computers.
Literally, to have people scream and yell at not just you, but also each other about things that are like not even necessarily pertinent to the content on the stage. They're just mad about shit.
Oh my God.
I don't do that shit. If you're ever compelled to participate and you have not been invited to participate, I'm thinking like stand up. They don't want to be fucking heckled. Unless they're inviting you to heckle them, don't fucking heckle.
Just laugh at their jokes and have a nice time. And it's not about
don't
you.
Laugh. It's not fucking about you. Who cares? Just fuck you. Just fuck you. Anyway.
Spoken by a true entertainer.
Yeah, fuck you.
It's not about you. Fuck you. She'll punch you.
I'm ready to get canceled. Oh, fuck everything. So Shakespeare these days, like we were saying earlier, is on like the hoity-toityr end of media. But in the Victorian era, it went from popular to just idolized by fucking everybody. The one thing the rich and the middle class and the poor all had in common was that they fucking loved Shakespeare. This like cannot be overstated.
Can't even understand it.
They could. They connected with all of these themes and with the language. We can't fucking understand it, but like they got it.
Unless Julia Stiles is saying it, I don't understand it.
No, correct. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, quote, "Beings on other planets probably call the Earth Shakespeare." That's how insanely seriously people took this shit. So when an actor named Edwin Forrest became the first American to gain major success playing Shakespearean roles, he developed a rabid fan base. Like the first Swiftie ever was Edwin Forrest.
Dang.
Yeah. So Edwin Forrest, quote, gave forceful, histrionic, and masculine performances, whatever the fuck that means. But apparently it was seen that this way of acting, this like loud, aggressive way of performing Shakespeare in particular, did cater more to the lower classes. And so it brought in a lot of new theater goers that maybe weren't interested in going before. And those new theater goers of this like lower class in New York specifically loved the audience participation, the shouting, the heckling. But more than that, this like macho, hyper confident style that Forrest was using was held up as an example of like, look, we can Shakespeare better than the Brits. Listen to how loud that guy is. Like, he's amazing.
Yeah.
So
this is our
also,
brand.
This is American. This is American Shakespeare. So there was this like weird patriotism that was wrapped up in Edwin Forrest's performances. It was like a battle cry of cultural independence at a super healthy level of importance to place on a guy playing make-believe up on a stage. Like, there's no way he goes off the deep end and does anything shady.
Oh, no.
No. So Edwin Forrest and William Macready's rivalry, again, Forrest is the American, Macready is the Brit, started in maybe the dumbest way for a fight to start that I have ever fucking heard. This was during a performance of William Tell, and McCready is supposed to break an arrow, but the stage manager didn't prep his like breakaway arrow, and so he had to break one of his own good arrows from his quiver and was super pissed because A, apparently he brought his own arrows from home, which like that's ridiculous. B, it was a really fucking nice arrow. Like, I cannot get this arrow in America, and like I can't get wood nice enough to make this arrow in America.
Calm down.
Your
about
country
your arrow.
sucks. Oh, he was losing it about his fucking arrow. So this event alone nearly started a riot in the theater because it happened during a performance.
Oh my god!
And
I
was
hope
complaining.
He pitched his fit like on
He
stage.
did. He did. And people in the audience were pissed. Like, what are you trying to say about our fucking American wood, you British fuck? Like, they were pissed that he was like coming after the quality of an American product by American.
I can't get arrows like this over here.
I can't get your wood here. Your wood sucks. I hate it.
It's not about the arrow.
Oh, it's not about the arrow. It's about the wood. Oh my God.
Read between the lines.
James Kennedy as William McCready would be incredible casting.
Totally.
I can't. So, oh my God. I'm sorry. I need a sip of water. This is fucking ridiculous. I can't.
It's not about the wood.
It's not about the arrow. I can't even get the wood here. Read between the lines. Oh. So after this incident, McCready was sort of on the outs with like American wood-loving audiences. Like, they canceled him. They were like, you talk shit about our
bridge.
wood. Yeah, you're fucking done, McCready.
You're a wood with a mustache.
You're You're a wood with a mustache.
It's so stupid.
I can't believe how fucking dumb this is. I can't believe it. You guys, so many people died. This is so fucked up. Okay. Like, what the fuck? I'm not laughing about the death. It's just the circumstances are so absurd. And like the stakes for everything in this time period were so high because people were like dying. Like, if you lived till you were 32, you were like an elder in the community.
Yeah.
So like you had to get invested quick and hard to like really enjoy a fandom because your life could end at any fucking minute.
Life was truly very short.
It was very short. Everything
and full
was
of
just
fleas.
So itchy and rank.
Stinks.
There was just nothing else to grasp at except like the love of your family and this nonsense. So McCready's like, well, all the Americans fucking hate me because I ragged on their wood. I'm going to go back to Britain. But Edwin Forrester, the American, eventually did go overseas, like to England, to do a tour, a Shakespearean tour, and he had a ton of success overseas. And McCready was pissed because McCready's like, this is my fucking territory. Don't bring your American performance bullshit over here and outshine me.
Sassy American, the new stuff, the fresh wave.
Yep.
It was an American invasion.
Mm-hmm. And things are going well for Edwin Forrester until he tried to play Macbeth, which is a notoriously difficult and nuanced role of like an old dying king that maybe his like big hunky masculine shouting wasn't a super good fit for.
I get
and
that.
His performance was literally boo-hissed. God, the sound effects are so good and so jarring. His ego was rattled, and he got it in his head that like arrow hater McCready was out there burning him and had something to do with like undermining his career, even though by all accounts the two were pretty friendly at the time. Even if McCready was kind of bitter, like he was even friendly enough and helpful with some of the London audiences. Like he did try to warm them up to this American guy. But like when he wasn't well received, he's not going to look within and be like, what did I do or could I have done differently or could I do differently moving forward, he's going to go like, no, it's McCready's fault.
Yeah.
And I blame him for everything.
Yeah, natch.
A week later, Edwin Forrest took his giant angry head to a performance of Hamlet and that McCready was giving. And Forrest boo-hissed McCready from the box in the audience to like start shit.
Come on.
This is like the original reality Von Teese. Like, I'm living for this shit. Except
He's
they
the
were
only one booing too.
Yes, probably. Except they were not trying to be secretive about any of this. They were just out in the open fucking haters. Like, they gave zero fucks. Things got even worse when an editor at the London Times wrote an article about the incident titled Professional Jealousy. And instead of just like letting it go, like one of the worst,
on.
Yeah, one of the worst things you can do if like people come for you in the press, especially in the press, but like, you know, in the public eye, is to just like get so wrapped up in it, like try to like defend yourself. It usually doesn't work. And don't engage. And Edwin was just like, fuck you, I'm writing back. So this is what he wrote. To the editor of the London Times. Sir, having seen in your journal of the 12th instant an article headed Professional Jealousy, here then I was disposed to let the matter rest, as upon more mature reflection, I did not deem it worth further attention.
Okay,
but
you
now,
were on the right track.
You fucking were. You full stop. This letter should be done now. What are you fucking doing? But now, as the matter has assumed a questionable shape by the appearance of the article in your journal, I feel called upon, although reluctantly, to answer it. Always listen to your instincts. If something in your gut is saying, don't engage, listen to it. This guy's a fucking Looney Tune.
Yeah.
There are two legitimate modes of evincing approbation and disapprobation in the theater. One expressive of approbation by the clapping of hands, the other by hisses to mark dissent. As well-timed and hearty applause is the just meed of the actor who deserves well. So also is hissing, a salutary and wholesome corrective of the abuses of the stage. And it was against one of these abuses that my dissent was expressed, and not, as was stated, with a view of expressing my disapproval of the manner in which Mr. McCready gave effect to a particular passage.
Jesus!
The truth is, Mr. McCready thought fit to introduce a fancy dance into his performance in Hamlet, which I thought and still think a desecration of the scene. I was by no means solitary in this expression of opinion. That a man may manifest his pleasure or displeasure after the recognized mode, according to the best of his judgment, actuated by proper motives and for justifiable ends, is a right which until now I have never once heard questioned, and I contend that right extends equally to an actor in his capacity as a spectator. The writer of the article has carefully omitted to notice the fact that I warmly applauded several points of Mr. McCready's performance.
It was the fancy dance. The fancy dance got me.
I was just fucked up by the dance, you guys. That's it.
I was overtaken by the fancy dance.
And more than once, I regretted that the audience did not second me in so doing. As to the pitiful charge of professional jealousy preferred against me, I dismiss it with the contempt it merits, confidently relying upon all those of the profession with whom I have been associated for a refutation of this slander. Yours respectively, Edwin Forrest.
Jesus.
Is that not the most like Meredith Marks email you've ever fucking heard in your goddamn life? The rumors, the slander,
the husband.
This has Meredith Marks written all the fuck over it. I could not. I like screamed when I read this. I can't. It's so embarrassing, Edwin. Like, please. The silly little dance. I can't.
Oh my God.
This response obviously made the situation way fucking worse.
Yeah.
This incident destroyed his reputation in England. Everybody, he was the laughingstock of England. They hated him. And when he did another tour in England, audiences were super sour on him. And McCready said that he had like no taste. And this is just like tit for tat. This shit is just simmering. They are quipping back and forth at each other. Then, Forrest, you guys, Forrest is so petty. I can't. It's so embarrassing. When McCready heads back for another tour of Shakespeare in the States, Forrest, I genuinely cannot fucking believe how funny and petty this is. Forrest goes on a competing tour in all the same spots, all the same cities. He
like
follows McCready. Night? Yes. He follows McCready around the country, booking venues on a competing tour.
Who is this man's agent?
Who fucking knows? Probably no one. Doing the same roles in the same cities, often at the same time. Forceful, masculine, histrionic performances. But in the States, he's
a side, Chicago.
And they fucking do, because in the States, they love him.
Yeah.
So, like, Forrest fans are coming out of the woodwork and, like, using this as kind of a political statement. It's like, we're on Team Forrest. We hate the Brits.
Yeah.
And we stand for the, like, lower and middle class. And anyone who's going to fucking McCready's shit are the rich who we fucking hate, who have been ruining our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So things just get out of pocket really fucking fast. Like hecklers, angry Shakespeare enthusiasts. It's so bad that they throw, like you mentioned, a dead sheep carcass on stage at a McCready show during the performance. Like, no tomatoes at all. These psychos are just chucking a dead sheep right at the guy.
Got you a sheep.
It escalates. Things get even worse when Forrest moves to divorce his English wife for immoral conduct. So, like, Forrest is American. He was married to an English woman. They're getting divorced. He's claiming immoral conduct. And these proceedings are really messy and they're super public because, like, nobody has anything the fuck to do. So, like, this is celebrity gossip.
Yeah.
And it's also fuel even more for that sort of, like, Brits versus Americans. Now we've got a literal American v. Brit getting divorced from a marriage.
Yeah.
It just, like...
So the press was all over it.
It was huge. It was huge.
Lots of clicks. That was clickbait. Yep.
So McCready arrives back in New York for his farewell tour to wrap up, coincidentally, on the day that Forrest's wife wins against him in court. Excuse me. And gets her divorce and, like, her alimony or whatever the fuck she won. On May 7th, 1849, 3 nights before the riot, Forrest supporters bought a fuck ton of tickets in the upper levels of the Astor Opera House where McCready was performing Macbeth. And they shout the whole performance to a stop. They're throwing rotten fruit. They're throwing eggs. They're throwing bottles of, quote, stinking liquid.
Ooh.
I can't. No dead sheep, but, like, everything but.
Yikes.
McCready finishes the play via pantomime because no one can hear him over the screaming. So he just charades his way.
The commitment.
Oh my God, he was not getting off that stage. This man, he's like, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down as the old dying king.
Yeah. You have to admire it.
Mm-hmm. When the performance is done, he's like, fuck this. I'm taking the first boat back to Britain. But a bunch of New York high society, including Herman Melville and Washington Irving, are like, don't do that. Like, you do so well here. We love you, basically. Like, please don't leave. They say, the good sense and respect for order prevailing in this community will sustain you on the subsequent nights of your performance. Like, don't let these American low-class fucks heckle you off of stage on American soil. We're not fucking doing that. So he's like, okay, you got me. You've assured me. They were wrong. This was the wrong choice. He probably just should have fucking left because that was 3 days before the infamous riot brawl.
He pushed his luck.
Yep. So May 10th, the performance at the Opera House is scheduled to go on despite protests, threats of protest. Forrest will be performing a competing Macbeth nearby. And a riot is literally suspected. Like, people know that shit is going to fucking go down. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole crew that call themselves Friends of Forrest that are handing out hilariously inflammatory flyers which I know you covered
This is my favorite. They're so stupid.
They're so stupid and over the top. So they read, "Working men, shall Americans or English rule in this city? English aristocratic opera house." Then in tiny print below. Tiny, like this is huge print on
all
a flyer.
caps.
All caps, massive. Then in
Impact font.
teeny tiny print it says, "We advocate no violence, but the free expression of opinion to all public men." Then again, it's like the tiny little disclaimer, "We advocate no violence, but the free expression of opinion to all
Void in
public
Ontario.
men." Void in Ontario.
Name that ad.
Cry. Oh my god, that's so fucking funny. Yes, literally. Literally that. And then underneath again, "Working men, free men, stand by your lawful rights." Like, to come heckle this British actor. So, oh my god, you guys, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. The May 10th performance of Macbeth, both of them begin close by, but not in the same theater. Remember, Macready is in the Palace Opera.
They're like across the street.
They're basically across the street from each other. In a horrible bit of coincidence, it just so happened that nearby a sewer was being constructed on 4th Avenue, which meant that cobblestone streets had been all torn up, and there were piles of thousands and thousands of cobblestones loose, just lying around.
Conveniently, palm-sized.
Yep. Literal ammunition for a riot.
Please throw me.
Yep, these made excellent missiles when the protests turned into riots.
God.
Police and supporters of Macready, because remember, the wealthy own the cops, the wealthy love Macready, and so they're teamed up.
Mm-hmm.
They are barraged by big-ass, perfectly hand-sized rocks and running battles with the police. Like,
God.
it is war in the fucking streets.
Yeah. Really
The
violent.
first round, really violent. Really fucking violent. The first round of rioters are arrested and put into a room in the theater. But shortly after that, excuse me, beer makes me burp. The smell of smoke starts drifting through the theater, and it was discovered later that they had collected a bundle of wood shavings. I guess our American wood was good enough for fucking this. And lit it with a gas lamp to like get themselves out. So they just lit a fire in a room by the theater. Now there's fire inside, threatening thousands of people in the theater. They're surrounded outside by rioters throwing rocks.
So who lit the fire inside the theater?
Some of the people that had been grabbed by the cops, the rioters, and like detained in there.
So they were like insurgents in the rich people theater.
Yeah, but they were separated because they weren't like in the grand theater itself. They were in probably like a rehearsal room.
The building.
They were in the building.
Close enough to set it on fire.
They did essentially set the building on fire, but it was put out before it got out of hand, because if it hadn't, imagine if it hadn't been. It's shocking that up to 30 people died in this event, but if they had really gotten into a situation where that fire had gotten out of control, thousands could have, because they were like basically trapped in there by the rioters outside.
Yeah.
They thousands of people in that theater could have burned alive. Like that would have been really fucked up.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. Thank God. On stage, screaming and fighting is so loud that once again, Macready is doing Macbeth by charades because no one can fucking hear him. And he got a lot of practice the other night. So,
oh my God.
But, so he suddenly starts to realize like, oh, I'm trapped inside of a theater with mobs armed with rocks outside and a fire being put out over there.
This is very avant-garde theater.
Yeah. So he's like, what's an actor to do? He does himself up in disguise and slips out of the theater and just loses himself in the crowd.
Oh my God.
He like dirties himself down, makes himself look like a fucking like little
poor
peasant.
theater goer.
Yes. And just creeps out, blends in, and books it. He's gone. He gone. From a New York Times article released at the time, quote, as one window after another cracked, the pieces of bricks and paving stones rattled in on the terraces and lobbies. The confusion increased till the opera house resembled a fortress besieged by an invading army rather than a place meant for peaceful amusement of civilized community. Major General Charles Sanford would write about the incident in his memoirs, Recollections of a New York City Chief of Police, saying, quote, a sewer was being constructed on 4th Avenue, and the pavements in consequence had been torn up. At McCready's performance, the cobblestones became effective weapons in the hands of a mob. Where the Bible House now stands was a stone yard. The stone clippings which the rioters found were furnished sufficient ammunition to pelt the military police. The main attack came from 4th Avenue, the police being stationed there, as well as on Astor Place, the theater, Broadway, 8th Street, and Lafayette Place. I was in charge of the amphitheater entrance to the theater on Astor Place. There were 6 men under me. The stones came from the mob in volleys. Several soldiers were struck down, 1 or 2 of them being seriously injured. I carried them within the theater. There, the scene was one of terror and confusion. Shower after shower of paving stones was hurled against the windows. The stones, however, fell in the midst of the frightened audience, and like broken glass is like raining down on them, which the audience became positively terror-stricken. During a period of 35 years of military service, he continued, I have never seen a mob so violent as the one on that evening. I never before had occasion to give the order to fire. Mm-hmm. So shooting he gave the order
on the mob.
Yeah, he gave the order for the police to open fire on the mob, and they did pretty indiscriminately.
God, that's so scary.
So fucking terrifying. So from another newspaper article that was written at the time, quote, in the midst of the firing, one of the Harlem Railroad cars stopped in the vicinity for the purpose of allowing an elderly gentleman to get out.
Oh my God.
As soon as he had put his foot on the step in the act of descending, he was pierced by a musket ball and fell dead. It found that he was shot through the heart. He had nothing to do with it.
He was just getting off a train.
Just getting off a train, getting off a streetcar. And then the article goes on to describe the scene at like the local hospital where people were being taken.
Oh, God.
Quote, the next victim was a poor Irish woman named Bridget Fagan. We found her lying on a mattress on the floor of one of the female wards with a frightful gunshot wound in her right knee. Her husband was on his knees beside her. They had gone out together after he had returned from his daily labor to purchase a few shirts and were returning to their humble home when unfortunately they passed directly in range of the fire of the military. So like a lot of innocent people that were not part of this at all were either killed or seriously injured.
Jesus Christ.
So McCready, who snuck out of the city disguised, I guess he was disguised as a soldier, which I think is actually like higher risk because
you would
the
think
mob
so.
might come for you. But if they had decided to open fire, then and he looks like a mobster, you know, a member of the lower class mob, as they would call it, then he could have gotten shot.
Yeah, maybe he chose that route because it was just like a free pass to kind of go
Get
wherever
out,
he needed to go.
Then ditch your costume and be on with it.
Yeah, or maybe that was the only available costume in the dressing room.
That's very, very true. He did reflect that he was hysterical, quote, with regret and remorse that his appearance had led to so many deaths. Public opinion was all over the place, like as would be expected. I mean, some people were incensed at him and other people just like felt awful. Everyone agreed that the mayor of New York really fucked up and should have seen it coming because people were talking about this leading up to it.
There were flyers.
There were fucking flyers for recruitment. They had already had an incident with the dead sheep 3 nights before.
Yeah.
They should have shut down the performance. Period. Full stop.
They knew.
Fucking knew. Ugh. They fucking knew. And we know they knew because they had deployed military force to keep the riot from happening. Like there was some police presence already there in anticipation of this on the night of.
Yes.
They added a bunch of militia soldiers, but apparently it just like wasn't enough people for crowd control, you know, as they would say. So from a contemporary paper, they did a piece on this. They said, quote, throughout the day, rumors were abundant that a riotous organization of the most formidable character was in progress and that a still more bloody scene than that of the preceding night might be anticipated. It was said that firearms had been purchased and obtained in large quantities by persons riotously disposed.
Ooh.
So they knew it would be violent.
Yeah.
Almost all of the dead were working class. Many of them, like I said, were innocent bystanders caught in the volleys of gunfire. The dead were laid out to be combed through and claimed by loved ones the next day. You just had to come down. You heard this happened.
Pick up
You're like,
your
shit.
brother's body.
Yep, my so-and-so was there. I better go check the pile.
Oh, my God.
I can't. The next night, a large group gathered crying for revenge against the authorities that had caused the casualties, and another fracas broke out, though the authorities got the upper hand and quelled it quickly this time. But a young boy was killed.
What? Another person was killed the next day?
Yeah, like a kid in that melee, that back and forth.
God. They need to get it under control.
Seriously. Eventually they fucking did, but this was a lot. Like we said, between 22 and 31 rioters were killed and 48 were wounded. 50 to 70 policemen were injured. And of the militia, 141 were injured. Edwin Forrest and William McCready stayed successful actors. Nothing launches your career like 31 dead.
Any press is good press.
Yep. Edwin Forrest retired to a castle mansion by the Hudson River. This incident marked a fork in the road between the working class and the wealthy and what they did for entertainment. The fancy people got to keep theater, and the poor gravitated to vaudeville. As for the Astor Place Opera House, which just wanted to do opera but had to resort to doing Shakespeare because it was so popular and like they had the most seats, they were like, we don't even want to do Macbeth, and now all of our fucking windows are busted in when all we really wanted to do was like sing in German. Like, leave us fucking alone. I can't.
Dress in Viking helmets. What do we do with all these helmets now?
Back off. But it was now known as the Massacre Opera House and was itself the final fatality in this messy night at the theater. They ended up having to close. They couldn't survive all of this.
The Massacre House. That's not
great press.
Not an easy nickname to overcome.
Nope.
Well, I'm really glad that you dove back into this.
I know it was long. I know it was a lot. And I know that like you had already kind of dipped your toes in it, but it's just the whole story is so bonkers.
Yeah. You gave a lot more like historical context to it, which I appreciate.
We had to come back to it. We had to. So thank you for like introducing that to me.
Yeah.
And then volleying it over for me to take up an hour and a half fucking talking about it.
It's a big ass brawl.
Yeah.
She's a big brawl.
She big.
Well, thank you to Luca Devantier for this suggestion. I hope that we did it justice. And
we did our best.
After this, I am on my way to go meet some friends at a dive bar, and hopefully I don't get into any trouble.
Please let me know if you do, and I'll come pay your bail.
I've never seen a fight there, but I've heard
your local spot is pretty chill. I would be pretty shocked.
I've heard about fights there, like people fighting in the back parking lot.
Sure.
Punching someone off of a bar stool. I'm not naming names, although I do know the names.
You could. You have names.
I've got names.
Well,
just, yeah.
Keep them to yourself, McCready.
My lips are sealed. Well, thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.